This is Braden Fisher. He's known for breaking hearts and, well, catching bodies.
Straight to the defense. That's insane.
But today, we're not talking about Braden. We're actually talking about his partner in crime, Keelan Ward. See, Keelan was able to gain a whopping 14 inches on his vertical jump from his freshman year to his junior year in high school. He went from barely touching the rim to dunking pretty much any way he wanted. And who am I? Well, I'm their high school basketball coach, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach who works with elite high school, college, and professional athletes. And in today's video, I'm going to give you the exact 6 steps that I use with Braden and the rest of my athletes to help them jump as high as humanly possible, and the 6 steps that I use with Keelan to help him gain well over a foot on his vertical in 2 years. Step number 1, they all did the correct exercise. See, when most athletes try to increase their vertical jump, it looks like this. They just start throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. They try a bunch of different exercises and they hope that something works to help them jump higher. There's a better way, my friends. See, let me give you a little science lesson very quickly. And don't worry, I will give you the kindergarten version. So vertical jump is nothing more than a test of pure power output. How much power can you produce to explode yourself up into the air? Power is force times velocity. Force, I want you to think of as maximum strength. Velocity, I want you to think of as maximum speed. To get stronger, I want you to lift weights. To get faster, I want you to do plyometrics. Remember, this is the kindergarten version. So for most of you out there, if you get stronger and you get faster, you will, for the most part, increase your vertical jump. And there is a little bit more to it, but I will talk about that later on in this video. So to get stronger, I want you to hit the weights. To get faster, I want you to do plyos. And when you do your weights, I want you to, at bare minimum, do a squat, a hinge, a calf raise, and a split squat or a lunge. Then when it comes to your plyometrics, you're gonna do sprints, max approach jumps, dunks, skips, hops, bounds, depth jumps, drop jumps, etc. And I do realize this isn't super specific, but I've already made 2 different videos ranking which strength exercises and which plyometric exercises I think will help you increase your vertical jump the most. So if you're interested in that, I will link it down below in the description of this video. Also, I do have a second YouTube channel called Answers for Athletes, where literally all that I do is answer your questions, react to controversial vertical jump advice, and post my own progress. So if you're interested in that, go subscribe. Let's see if I can hit the top step with no warm up. Stop messing with your coach. I ain't putting that in there. Step number 2 is that we progressive overloaded those exercises. This is by far the most important step in this entire video. Well, I guess other than step 1, because if you're progressive overloading bicep curls, then you're shit out of luck. But in order to jump higher, listen to me. You must force your body to adapt. Let's put it like this. Your body does not want to jump higher. It loves homeostasis. It's chilling. You have to go in there and force it to jump higher by doing more than it is used to. If you train in a way that your body is already used to, then it has no reason to change. Think about it like this. If I do bicep curls for 3 sets of 10 reps with 20-pound dumbbells, my biceps will get a little bigger. But if I do bicep curls for 3 sets of 10 reps with 20-pound dumbbells for the next 2 years, my biceps are not going to get any bigger. Why? Because they have no reason to change. My body already knows what that is. I need to either increase the sets and the reps, increase the time under tension, increase the load at which I'm doing my bicep curls, aka how much weight I'm using, or do a harder variation of an exercise. But there has to be some sort of progressive overload in order for my body to have a reason to change. And just as a bodybuilder has to literally force their muscles to get bigger, we as athletes have to force our body to get stronger, faster, more powerful, and more explosive, and ultimately jump higher. Step number 3 that helped Keelan gain 14 inches on his vertical is that we started with mixed training. When looking at the force velocity curve, you'll see force at the top, aka strength, velocity at the bottom, aka speed, and power right in the middle, aka strength and speed combined. With Keelan, and what I do with most of my athletes, is that we focus on improving all of these qualities at once. at least at first. This means that in every single workout, we start with a warm-up, then we do some speed or plyometric work, then some power work, and then some strength work to finish it off. This is extremely good for beginner and intermediate athletes because your bodies can pretty much adapt to whatever you throw at. Once you get a little more advanced, you might need to start to focus on one specific quality at a time, but I'll talk about that in the next step. For now, just understand that with Keelan, we would focus on speed and plyos, power, and strength all in the same workout in that order. See if you do your heavy strength or hypertrophy work before you do your plyos, especially if it's higher volume, your legs might be dead and your plyos can suffer. If you do your plyometrics before your power and strength work, most of the time there isn't going to be any interference and the plyos could actually help stimulate your central nervous system for the rest of the workout. Now I understand that this is not always the case. You could tap into other training methods like contrast training, French contrast, other post-activation potentiation type training, but for the most part, the rule of thumb that you do want to follow is to do the most fatiguing things last. And if this video is beneficial for you in any way, subscribe and like the video and comment down below and buy my programs and Venmo me $1,000. I love you. Step number 4, after we did mixed training for a good year and we really reaped all of those rewards, then we moved into specific training. That is, we focused on one specific quality at a time while maintaining those other qualities. And by qualities, I just mean strength, power, and speed. So the difference here is that instead of focusing the same amount on strength, power, and speed, we placed most of our focus on strength and then we just touched on power and speed. Then we placed most of our focus on power and we just touched on strength and speed. And finally, we focused most of our time and our energy on speed and we just touched on strength and power. So you can think of this as a strength phase, this as a power phase, and this is a speed or elasticity phase. Each of these phases were about 4 to 6 weeks long and they were separated by either a deload week or a back off phase. In my opinion, you should always do some sort of deload, back off, or taper in between your tougher training cycles. But that's what I want to talk about next. Step number 5 that helped him gain 14 inches on his vertical is that we did the correct volume. Guys, this is crucial. You know how some days you're feeling really bouncy, you're jumping really high, and then other days you're just really fatigued and you feel like you can barely get off the ground? Well, that has everything to do with how fresh or how fatigued your central nervous system is, which, if you're training really hard, has everything to do with how much volume you are doing. The truth is, if your volume is too high for too long, your body is just gonna start to feel slow, sluggish, not bouncy at all, and you will either see no results or your vertical jump will even go down for a time period, and you could even pick up some overuse injuries. For Keelan, we kept it very simple. During that first year when we did mixed training, we did 2 exercises per quality per workout. That is, we did 2 exercises focused on speed and plyos, 2 exercises focused on power, and then 2 exercises focused on strength. And just to give you an example, for speed and plyos, we might have done dunks and sprints. For power, we might have done dumbbell squat jumps and high pulls. And then for strength, we might have done rear foot elevated split squat and single leg Romanian deadlift. After a good 4 to 6 weeks, we would then do a back off phase and drop it to 1 quality per workout. So for example, it might be dunks, trap bar high pulls, and rear foot elevated split squat, or sprints, dumbbell squat jumps, and single leg RDL. Obviously, these aren't the only exercises that we did, but that gives you a good idea. And then during the second year of more specific training, we only did 3 to 4 exercises per workout. And it would be all speed with just a touch of strength or power, all power with just a touch of strength or speed, or all strength with just a touch of strength or speed. Did I say that right? Just remember that in mixed training, we are touching on all of the qualities evenly. And then in specific training, we are focusing on one specific quality at a time, either in a strength phase, a power phase, or a speed phase, and just touching on the other qualities to maintain that quality. All right, you guys get it. You definitely don't have to follow this strategy exactly, but just understand that periods of higher volume can be extremely beneficial as long as you follow them with periods of lower volume, such as a deload, a back off, or a taper, where you allow all of the adaptations from your volume phase to take place. Step number 6 is that we did 2 to 3 workouts per week, and in Keelan's case, for 2 years straight. See, I can honestly count on one hand the number of workouts that he missed, and even when he broke his wrist, he was still right here, locked in, and training hard. You see, training to jump higher is something that you need to stay consistent with. If you commit to doing 2 to 3 workouts per week, paired with the correct exercises from step number 1, the progressive overload from step number 2, either the mixed training or the specific training from steps 3 and 4, and the correct volume from step number 5, you will be in an excellent position to actually get yourself some bounce. And now, I have a ton of bonus tips for you. These aren't major tips, but they definitely helped him on his journey of gaining 14 inches on his vertical. Bonus tip number 1. We started with a foundation phase. Eccentrics, isometrics, force absorption and deceleration, low-level extensive plyometrics, hypertrophy work, regressions of the more intense exercises that we are going to do later on in his programming. All of this is extremely important. If you are going to get into vertical jump training, you must first build a solid foundation. Bonus tip number 2 is that before every single workout, well, I shouldn't say every workout, but before 95% of our workouts, we did 3 to 5 sets of 45-second isometric holds just for prehab and to make sure that he did not develop any tendon pain. And if you do not have a single leg extension machine like this, then you can do wall sits, lunge holds, or a Spanish squat. 3 to 5 sets a day keeps the physical therapist away. Bonus tip number 3 is that we base the workouts off of how he felt. For example, in a regular vertical jump program, you might have workouts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, what if you have a game on Thursday? Then you work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a game Thursday. Now that is 4 high intensity workouts per week instead of 3. What I did with Keelan, and admittedly this was a little bit easier for me because I was both his basketball coach and his strength coach, and I could manipulate the intensity of the workouts based on his schedule for that week, was that if we did a ton of skill work that week, or he went and played a bunch of pickup basketball, or we had multiple games that week, spring league, fall league, or summer league games, we would take a deload day, quote unquote, or multiple deload days based on the intensity, the volume of the rest of his activity. Which brings me into the very last bonus tip. Bonus tip number 4, we combine the stress of basketball and training whenever possible. Now, I do want to start out by saying this is not always possible. Basketball players, we do a lot of shit. We got to do our skills training. We got to do our plyos and our strength work. We have games. There's a lot of stuff to do as a basketball player, but I will say this, whenever you can, you should combine the stress of basketball and lifting into one session so that all of the breakdown of your tendons, your muscles, your central nervous system occurs in that one session, and then you leave the rest of the time for rest, recovery, sleep, nutrition, etc. And last but not least, and on a more serious note, if you did find this video beneficial, definitely subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And if you're interested in a program, I actually created a program called the Vertical Jump Secret System based on everything that I did with Keelan to help him gain 14 inches on his vertical. And you can do the exact same thing by clicking the link in the bio and signing up today. You'll have full access to the Vertical Jump Secret System and direct message access to me because I will actually be in there, in the system, in the chat, coaching you every step of the way. But whether you get the Vertical Jump Secret System or not, make sure that you take these 6 steps that I use with Keelan and put them into action in your own life to get some bounce. Let's work.